about this? Why do you talk about Meghan and Harry? And then I think, you know what? They're right. Like, why do I? And then I start reading what people are saying and the news, and you can't believe that it's real. Why? Because they're demanding that the photo agency turn over the footage. I swear to you, this woman needs to get on the Housewives. Just get on the Housewives. They're like the Salahis breaking into the White House. Like, just be a housewife, lean in, be infamous, because it's not going that great. You've alienated your base of fans. So now this is happening, and it's hard to actually believe that it's happening because it's crazy. Stop. Just basta. Stop. The problem is sometimes like you get too far in and you don't know which way to go. They're like swimming halfway between Cuba and Florida, and they don't know whether to go back or to keep swimming. So they just keep swimming, and we just hope they don't drown. It doesn't have to be that drastic. And he was filming it because they're like, no, I can prove it. I've got the footage. I've never heard Taylor Swift or Beyonce or J-Lo or like mega major stars like Justin Bieber, like Harry Styles, talk like this. What's going on? Like, who is Mr. Magoo and Elmo? Is that who their publicist is? Like, someone control the beast.
So I started getting harassed around the time of the royal wedding. The moment that people knew I disagreed with some things about my sisters.
I grew up as an only child, and I wished I had siblings.
It's like everything. It's lie upon lie upon lie.
Hello to all my gorgeous, good-looking friends. You are tuning into TRG's series covering the Markle vs. Markle defamation lawsuit. If you are new to the channel, welcome. For those who are returning, thank you for coming back and supporting my work. I'm always grateful to have this like-minded community to discuss the beloved royal family and the cultural impact of its members on society, particularly in America. Okay, before I get into this, let me just put the disclaimer. I am not a legal expert. I am simply just reading what's in the public court files and giving my interpretation and observations / opinions. Please do your own research and come to your own conclusion. Hello, my gorgeous, good-looking friends. This week has not been a good week for the Harkles. Yesterday, Samantha's legal team fired back in response to Meghan's motion to dismiss, and it is brutal. So we're going to get into it. So Meghan had filed a motion to dismiss on April 27th, and I didn't bother to cover it because it was completely filled with a lot of deflection, distraction, throwing in cases here and there, trying to separate the nexus and make it all about her feelings. Now, I am very pleased to see what Samantha's team have come back with because she literally tightened it up and have put Meghan's feet to the fire. Now, with the recent events that was staged in New York City this week, it comes at the right time to be able to support some of the bullet points that Samantha makes in this court case. Before we get into it, just want to give a quick update. I had posted this on my community page indicating that there was a motion to move the dates out 6 months. The judges come back and had granted it, so now we're seeing a new trial date set for July 8th, 2024, which means now discovery has been pushed out to January 8th, 2024. And the reason why they both petitioned to have the dates pushed out was because we are coming upon some of these deadlines and the case is still in process of being considered to be dismissed or whether it will move forward. So no sense in wasting resources and doing discovery when there is a potential for the case to be dropped. By looking at the counter, I think there's a very good chance, especially in light of this week's recent debacle by the Harkles and the lies now starting to come out. I think it just makes her case stronger. So let's get into this document. So let's start with the introduction. The document goes into saying, on April 13th, 2023, Samantha filed her third amended complaint containing 2 counts against Meghan Markle for defamation and defamation by implication. Now, I'm really happy that they took out this Duchess of Sussex and recognize Rachel Meghan Markle as Meghan Markle and referred to the document as Meghan. Important changes were made from the first amended complaint, such as changing the claim of a libel based on the Oprah interview to a more correct cause of action of libel by implication. Now, we all know that the court had dismissed Finding Freedom, and it was dismissed with prejudice, so they were not able to replead those claims. And the document says, however, as the undersigned explained in the hearing on the motion to dismiss the first amended complaint, notwithstanding that she was already being sued for defamation, Meghan was not able to stop herself, and she persisted in a Netflix series to smear her sister Samantha even further. Now, this next paragraph, I think, really hits home. It is not common that families become divided to a point where one sibling finds it's necessary to file suit against another sibling. However, in the instant case, one sister's misguided agenda and inability to have empathy has not only caused the split in her own family, but she fractured her husband's family as well, as she has risen to become an actor on a world stage from which her slings of arrows have caused great harm to her own sister, her father and brother, and the British royal family. This is especially true where the Netflix series took Meghan's issues to another level. Now, here's what I like about this paragraph. If you're reading this as just a hardworking person, and I'm sure that the judge has a family that she loves and cares for, I think anybody who has a family and recognizes this kind of dysfunction and dynamic knows that this behavior is not normal and it is a unique situation. I also believe that this paragraph will relate more to the judge than it will from Meghan's camp because they filled their document with pure arrogance. And I think that's going to hurt them. While the initial statements were bad enough to seek significant damages, the gravamen of the statements to Oprah Winfrey, which implied that Samantha was a villainous opportunist who Meghan did not even know, the Netflix series was used to label Samantha as nothing less than a racist. The original remarks on Oprah may seem to pale in comparison to the assassination of Samantha's reputation in the Netflix series, but even those false statements were calculated to harm Samantha's reputation and to cast her to be an unconscionable opportunist. They were bad enough to cause the ramifications of a loss of a career in counseling and to cause her to become an object of hate, resulting in strangers stalking her and threatening her, even rising to her receiving death threats. Then Samantha's team says, to this, Meghan attempts to laugh off her damaging conduct by claiming that she is beyond the reach of the courts for making her statements, as she claims that she is spewing only opinions. I love that Samantha's team is sticking it to Meghan because using opinions and how you feel to backpedal, similar to what they're doing right now with this New York City car chase, is not going to hold up because guess what? Facts don't care about Meghan's feelings. And Samantha is going to go into proving that because she has the receipts. Like in this instance, it says, worse, Meghan was far more than a subject on the Netflix series, but she was a producer with control of the publication. In it, she used her associate and agent, Christopher Boozy, hereinafter referred as Boozy, to make additional false and disparaging statements about her own flesh and blood. Although Meghan claims that he was not her agent or employed by her, there is evidence to refute this contention. Here, they add a footnote in referencing Exhibit A to the actual tweet that Christopher Boozy had posted out, in which it is stated that his clients included Meghan Markle. So here is what's included in the exhibit, and here's the evidence showing where you can find this actual tweet in which Christopher Boozy had referenced Meghan Markle. Now, what's interesting is that when you go to the link, at the time, this is what was showing. Currently now, the tweet seems to have been deleted. I wonder what excuse or lie is going to be told as to why this tweet was deleted. We shall see. Well, it's a good thing they captured it before it disappeared, along with other screenshots that most likely will be used in this case. So they begin addressing the Oprah interview on CBS, and they bring up the 4 statements that were published on a global stage by Oprah Winfrey. And really what it comes down to in making this case the matter is that in the blue highlighted stating that considering the medium on which Meghan made her harmful statements, the libel by implication is blatant. So this is a habit that Meghan has, is always this implied. It's very manipulative in what she does. So she may not say the actual words. She will create a narrative around implying the essence that she wants the audience to get. And she thinks that she's so smart that people are not seeing how deceitful she is being. Either she thinks that she's not going to get caught or people can't prove it. But clearly, when you put everything together and look at the context of all of it together, it is driving the public to this idea or this narrative that she desperately wants people to believe, which is harmful because what she has been doing, in essence, has been brainwashing the public, not only on her family and attacking them and making them look like they are the garbage of the garbage, but also forcing the public into thinking that she is the next Diana 2.0. Perfect example is this recent car chase where they tried to stage this whole facade and then working with the media to regurgitate the script that they have come up with. Honestly, it's no different to what she has done to her own family. So where Meghan claimed that Samantha changed her back to Markle after she started dating Prince Harry, Samantha hits back at Meghan by saying, Meghan now attempts to suggest that Samantha's intermittent use of her maiden name with her married name is proof that Meghan was telling the truth. This is as absurd as the argument which was made in court by Meghan's counsel that it was a compliment to be called an opportunist. Mothers of children often use their married name when dealing with school or other matters concerning their children. While they use their maiden name on a more regular basis, such as the way that Samantha used the name Markle on the degree she obtained from college, in any event, the Third Amended complaint avers with no uncertainty that Samantha did not change her name at the time that Meghan started to date Prince Harry, which Meghan falsely stated as a fact happened to millions of viewers worldwide. So Samantha is saying that this statement was false, which is true, and it was about Samantha. It was to millions of viewers, and it caused harm. And it was either known to Meghan to be false, or Meghan had a reckless disregard to whether it was true or false. Now remember, in order to prove defamation, all those criteria must be met, where there was a statement that is false, it was about the person, that it was published to a third party, and it caused harm. In this case, Samantha is able to prove that, and she outlines it below here. In summary, Samantha says that this has affected her in her own community. It has affected her online, where she has received many death threats and harassing messages, as well as people stalking her. In addition, she's stating that the information is false because she can actually verify it. And Meghan's lawyers, thinking that they're so savvy, had used in the motion to dismiss the substantial truth doctrine, in which it allows people like Meghan to avoid any liability if the gist of their statement was true. So, yeah, a small portion of the truth, as we've said in the past, that there's always a little element of truth, but a whole big lie wrapped around it. What these lawyers are failing to understand is Meghan's gist sort of gets lost in translation when she's trying to imply and push a narrative that is false. I like that they gave an example of why the substantial truth is not going to apply or fly in this case for Meghan, in which they use the Turner versus Wells case, in where a football coach was denied his claim for defamation against a media company because a report stated he participated in the taunting that led to the quitting of a member of the team. In that case, the court focused on the nuance between participating in and merely condoning the subject mistreatment was not substantial enough to give rise to a claim for defamation. Furthermore, where there were allegations of taunting, the underlying truth prevailed, and it did not matter the reason he gave a male blow-up doll to a player. The fact was that he gave the doll and it affected the player accordingly. So what Samantha's lawyers are saying here is that unlike the case at hand, the statements made by Megan are not so nuanced and they are not substantially true, so that when the gist or sting of the truth are removed, the result remains the same. Instead, they are patently false statements. Now, from what I understand this to be, is that the lawyers are pretty much saying that the statements on its own, itself, at its core, are false. There isn't any gist. It's a black and white situation. There is no room for misunderstanding to what Megan is trying to imply. So then Samantha's lawyers proceed to slap Rachel Zane in the face with this, stating, likewise, it is objectively verifiable as to why and when Samantha changed her name. The words used by Megan were chosen to elicit a certain response from the listener. It is objectively verifiable to determine with whom Megan lived during the week when she was younger. Quotes, mixed expression of opinion occurs when an opinion or comment is made which is based on facts regarding the plaintiff, or conduct that have not been stated in the article or assumed to exist by the parties to the communication. The distinction between fact and non-actionable opinion is a question of law to be determined by the court, and not an issue for the jury. Now, here's the important piece. However, a statement is not protected as pure opinion if it implies the existence of undisclosed defamatory facts as its basis. And where court finds the statement in question is a mix of opinion and fact, and reasonably capable of defamatory interpretation, then a jury issue is presented. Once again, facts don't care about your feelings, or shall we say, the gist of what is being said. So moving along into the Netflix statements that were defamatory and countering Megan's BS motion to dismiss, the key thing throughout this document is that the statements in general, overall, between Oprah Winfrey and Netflix and her PR company and the media outlets, compounded together, is the reason why this is defamatory as well as problematic. In Megan's motion to dismiss, the lawyers did their very best to isolate each incident bullet by bullet and breaking that nexus to show that there was no correlation or connection to the end result of which, Samantha is claiming harm and a tremendous amount of loss. And they go full force to slap Rachel Zane again across the face by reiterating the facts, by saying first, Megan attacked the statements by Megan that her father lived alone and that Samantha had moved out. Samantha is telling people that she raised her and that Megan did not remember seeing Samantha at her father's house. These are all false statements of fact. Thomas Markle, Megan, and Samantha's father did not live alone. Samantha never suggested, much less told people, that she raised Megan, and Megan is not being truthful when she said that she does not remember Samantha at her father's house. Now, this is important in yellow. Although it is often difficult to prove what is in one's head or what one's memory may be, there's no question that Samantha lived with her father and no question that Samantha never stated that she raised Megan. And this is where Megan's stupidity comes into play, because who is going to be able to verify this? Her own father. So maybe she should have been nice to him. Maybe she should have treated her family a little bit better. Now, Megan's not going to be able to pull the oh, I misremembered or I forgot in this situation because facts are now going to come into play. So any receipts that Samantha have of paying some kind of rent or testimony, not only by her father, but also her brother, it's going to blow Megan's weak defense out of the water. In tackling the racism claims and Megan saying in her motion to dismiss, calling somebody a racist is merely just an opinion, well, she goes to town here by saying that when Megan spoke negatively of people who she grouped as the ones who all had the same qualifying factor to belong to the group, she was not speaking of an actual group. There is no club of people who are racists and spewing hate about Megan. There may be some individuals who did or do so, but it's not as similar to saying that people who display a Confederate flag are racist. To make the leap to racist is not necessarily appropriate. However, if one were to group those who displayed Confederate flags as people who display the flags, it would be axiomatically a true conclusion. Here's the important part. By grouping people as racists, and then by suggesting that Samantha is a member of the group, it is the same as saying that Samantha is a racist. Although calling someone a racist is one of the most insulting and despicable names one can use as a label, indeed it is, I would agree. In this regard, Megan relied on, and they list this court case, that calling one a racist is nothing further is a matter of opinion. This case relied on North Carolina law. But here we go. Samantha gives this wonderful case example and I think sums up exactly what is going on here. So lastly, defendant's argument that the implication that someone has racist or a white supremacist attributes is not defamatory at all, let alone defamatory per se, is without merit. The court cannot determine at this stage of the proceedings whether the statements are pure opinion and thus not defamatory because it is not clear whether all the facts on which the statements are based are known to the public. Moreover, statements tending to subject a person to hatred, distrust, ridicule, contempt, or disgrace, or to injure a person in his trade or profession are defamatory per se. So in this case, it's true, Samantha has been subjected to a tremendous amount of hatred, distress, ridicule. She has been harmed not only mentally, but this does take a toll on her physically. You know, she does have a disability, and I'm sure that this kind of stress and mental anguish took a toll on her physical state. So Samantha is claiming that when you put all these different implied statements together to form this picture, it does paint her in this light to which she has been accused of so many things that are completely false, all as a result of Megan making these statements. Now here is where Megan's opinions, aka stupid voice, doesn't matter. Megan can say that these are all 100% pure opinions, as this is the way that she remembers her sister as not there, but it is false in fact, and is part of the facts of whether Samantha was in her life, to cause the implication that Samantha is an interloper who she did not know for the purpose of gaining undue and undeserved monies, making her a person who should be hated, distrusted, and ridiculed, which directly caused harm to Samantha, including the termination of her career as a mental health professional. This is all libelous, and the false statements that her sister was not in her life made the implication that Samantha is therefore an evil opportunist attempting to cash in on her famous sister's fame and celebrity. Now, I highlighted this next piece because it's so relevant to what this couple had orchestrated this week in planting the seed that this car chase that they had in New York was just like reminiscing about Diana's car chase and planting that seed in the public's mind. She says here that next, Megan looks at the two statements that she is planting a seed that is so hateful, what it can grow into. You're making people want to kill me. It's not just a tabloid. It's not just some story. You're making me scared. Megan says now that she was not directing those remarks to Samantha. In that case, it is highly questionable as to whom they were directed. If it was not Samantha, it would have been a group to which Samantha was lumped by Megan. And there you go. This victim trying to make people feel sorry for her based off of all lies is the same thing that we saw this week with this car chase. And it's a good thing that this PR stunt blew up in their faces, because now more people are aware of the deceit and the pathetic attempt for attention and creating all this drama. Now Samantha's case has more weight to it, because you can clearly see that there is a pattern with Meghan and Harry in manipulating PR and pushing out narratives. And when it backfires so badly as it did this week, you have more people questioning their actions and looking more closely at what they have been doing. In my opinion, this is going to help Samantha's case. Now, I'm glad that later on in the document, they go to emphasize what is going on when you compound all these statements together. And it says, it does not take a rocket scientist to see what happens when all of Meghan's statements are combined. Meghan wants us to believe that someone out there is saying terrible things about her with hate and making people want to kill her, and that Samantha has numerous Twitter accounts for which Meghan had to go directly to Twitter. When the statements are put together, the truth of what Meghan has done is inescapable. This is especially obvious when one includes additional statements such as Samantha Markle was part of the group that was putting out a lot of this disinformation. And how can the half-sister of Meghan be part of a hate group? And I think they're referring to Boozy at this part, because this is what was said in the Netflix mockumentary. Perhaps isolated on their own, there are only opinions, but when added to the mosaic, they are indivisibly setting the framework which supports the defamation. I think this is brilliantly summed up. And there appears to be a tremendous effort and focus now on Boozy and Bot Sentinel. So this should be interesting. So just so everybody understands, so there's no confusion, throughout the document, Samantha's lawyers refer to numbered statements. These numbered statements tie back to the motion to dismiss that Meghan Markle's team had put out. And in that motion to dismiss, there was a table that contained all the statements that the motion to dismiss was addressing. So to respond back here, what they've done, they have used this table to refer back to objecting to why it should be dismissed. So now we're going to talk through statements 8 through 15, which is purely concentrated on Boozy and the whole element of racism and Samantha being called a racist. So in the motion to dismiss, Meghan's lawyers literally threw Boozy under the bus by putting the blame onto him and alleviating Meghan of any responsibility. So in this section here, in the motion to dismiss by Meghan Markle, they wrote, given that Boozy, not Meghan, uttered statements 8 through 15 and 18, this is a fatal problem for plaintiff. Her solution is to allege Boozy was retained by Meghan for the series and in his employ by Meghan in the course and scope of his retention, he said, and Meghan published. Plaintiff's allegation that Meghan hired Boozy for the series is a false statement which, as plaintiff's counsel has been told, will be met at the appropriate time with a Rule 11 motion if it is not withdrawn from the TAC. And that's the third amended complaint. And then bullet point 2 says, even if Megan were responsible for Boozy's statements, which she is not, none of them are defamatory. As noted above, Boozy is a third-party social media research analyst interviewed in episode 5 of this series, whose company looked at 114,000 tweets and determined that 70% of the hateful content came from just 83 accounts with a reach of 17 million people. Many of his statements, cited in plaintiff's third amended complaint, are not about plaintiff, and the rest are clearly not defamatory as a matter of law. So Samantha's lawyers were having none of it. So this is how they clapped back by saying, it is possible that statements 8 and 15 were not directed at Samantha, though they are intertwined in the statements made against Samantha. One does not need to repeat Samantha's name over and over for every statement to give the understanding that Samantha is the object of the dialogue. Here, Boozy is describing the tweets by Samantha and the others who were exposing Megan to show the level of sophistication, said, "So this is not your everyday trolling. It's insane." Let's not forget that he also said it's about race. Anyhow, they also include here, which is important, and it was done by people who were not the typical and quote-unquote trolls. These are middle-aged Caucasian women. The description certainly fits Samantha. So here's where Samantha's lawyers stick it back to Megan, where they say, Megan claims that she is not responsible for the statements of Boozy, but the fact is that she was the producer of the series, and it was Megan who had the final authority as to what was included. She is the one who indicated that Samantha had the excess number of accounts for which she needed to go to Twitter. This was mentioned in the same telecast as Boozy's comments. Boozy has publicly stated that he has been paid by Megan. Later, he also said he was not paid. Meanwhile, it is not likely that his appearance in the Netflix series was without compensation. In any event, it was Megan's doing which put 2 plus 2 together for the millions of viewers to gather that Samantha is a racist who uses her supposed bots to harm Megan. In wrapping up, addressing statements number 9 and 10 and also 11, they say in statements number 9 and 10, Boozy stated Samantha Markle was part of the group which was putting out disinformation. Now, in light of all the lies that Meghan and Harry have told, and fresh off the mind as this New York City car chase, I think that they need to think about their disinformation that they have put out, because guess what? That's going to come all out if this moves to a trial. Anyhow, continuing on. Again, the point here is not that Megan is liable for publishing the allegation that Samantha is putting out disinformation. That is the least of the importance of this statement. This is a statement which ties all the allegations of racism, spreading hateful information, which is making people want to kill her sister, Megan, and the big lie that Samantha is an evil opportunist. This is more than an allegation. It is the string which is tying the package together. And I think that was nicely said. In statement number 11, is not defamatory in its own right. If you go back to the chart that Megan made, it says the quote, "The most troubling part of this is the number of British journalists interacting with and amplifying the hate and the like." Now, keep in mind, they're saying that Megan didn't make this statement. So going now back to Samantha's clapback, this is what she said. It is simply implying that Samantha's bullhorn is greater than it would seem, in that the British journalists are amplifying the hate, which they are falsely accusing Samantha of spewing. As to malice, Megan acted with malice when she chose the words and made the statements about her sister, the plaintiff. And we all know, and there's plenty evidence out there of how Meghan loves her words and the choice of words that she uses to manipulate people and the public in a very calculated and evil way. Who could forget what she did here with this cut interview and the open threat, or perceived threat, at the end of the interview towards the royal family? Words are defamatory when they tend to subject one to hatred, distress, ridicule, contempt, or disgrace, or tend to injure one in one's business or profession. Unfortunately, as a result of Meghan's engagement and subsequent comments about her, Samantha was thrust into the spotlight and brought into the rocky stream of discourse around her sister and her sister's upbringing. This thrust into the spotlight has negatively impacted the plaintiff, her status in her community, and even her physical safety. Let's all remember that Samantha does not have the high-level security and fortress that Meghan and Harry have to fend off all these crazy people, because essentially, with all the lies that Meghan has told, has put a target on Samantha's back. So when we look at the security that Meghan and Harry are crying for, it makes Meghan look even more deplorable that she had put this unwarranted target on her own disabled sister's back. So it is my hope that this case does move forward and Meghan and Harry get sued into oblivion. Because after this trial, let's be honest, the person that's really going to need this security is going to be Samantha. I think that this response back was strong. I think it could have been stronger, although I'm not a lawyer. I would have added a little more about her disability and how difficult it has been for her as a result of the mental stress that all of this has caused, as well as the people that have been paid to target and harass Samantha. That mental stress had to have taken a toll on her physical well-being, causing an acceleration of this degenerative disease. There's a definite high cost to that, and I do believe that Meghan needs to pay. The only way Meghan is going to learn that she can't be doing this to people is by hitting where it hurts the most, and that's her wallet. It's definitely going to be interesting to see in the next couple of weeks what the judge does come back with. Let's all hope that she sees what we're seeing, especially after this week. How could she not have heard about it? That it does move her to agree to this trial, because I think justice now needs to happen. But what do you guys think? Do you think Samantha's lawyers did a good job in clapping back and bringing it home and persuading that this trial needs to move forward? I do have a concern, as we are getting close for the Home Office to make a decision on whether or not this couple gets IPP status. I think Samantha should be investigating or understanding what the laws are around should that happen. Will Meghan and Harry have to go to trial? I think that they would be immune to it, but I could be wrong. I think it's important that we all understand that, because that could also be a motivating factor for why Harry is going off the deep end and looking desperate towards getting this status back. But let me know what you guys think. I will definitely keep everyone updated as this moves along. Let's just send the good vibes to Samantha. I think she has a good shot, and I'm feeling quite hopeful and optimistic over the truth will prevail and this couple will finally get their comeuppance. As always, I will be back with more content, but until then, please be safe, and I'll talk to you later. Bye!
Such a fraud.